Yo, what's going on, you guys? Today we have four ways British and American houses are very different. I like watching these videos just so I can see the differences there is between us and you guys. And man, I love you guys' culture, man. I love the history you guys have. I love how green you guys' country is, the UK. I just love a lot of things that the UK has to offer. So that's why I like to learn more about the UK. So when it comes to houses, I love houses. I'm actually a realtor. I sell houses. I spend a lot of time in houses, and I spend a lot of time researching houses, looking at them. So, it'll be interesting to see the differences in houses. So, without further ado, man, we gotta get straight to the video. I ain't gonna talk too much. All right, come on.
And tea drinkers that we are, we love our kettles, don't we? But they're not just any kettles. These are ones you plug in and then hit the switch to turn on the plug, because I forgot to mention that our plug sockets also have switches. Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to houses, the things we live inside. If you're watching this video, it's quite likely you're either inside a house right now, or you're near one, because otherwise you wouldn't probably have internet access quite as easily. To anyone that might be new to this channel, come on in, get yourself a cup of tea. This isn't a genuine offer to come into my house. I'm just saying, join the channel. This is good.
Yeah, one thing I can say about his videos, he's usually funny, man. I like his sense of humor, definitely.
And hello to everybody who's been here a long time. Today we're going to look at several ways in which British and American houses are very, very different. Having lived in the United States for over 11 years, I've lived in my fair share of houses here, just as I did in Britain. So I think I have a decent grasp of how houses work. Even tiny ones like this one, which is about 400 square feet. I'm joking, this is a professional studio. Don't question me. And so without further ado, let's take a look at 4 ways that British and American houses are very, very different.
Okay, come on. I'm excited for this video.
Neither Britain nor America is devoid of variety when it comes to their housing styles, and that's because, well, with each sort of passing phase of history comes new designs to meet new needs and just new style preferences. And because of this variety, I'm not going to cover every single one of them, because that would keep us all here until next Wednesday, which would be good for my metrics, but not good for your sanity. So let's take a look at how some of the housing styles do vary from country to country. In Britain, a lot of the distinctive styles are also tied up with the period in which they were built. So you could go all the way back to the Tudor period, and you do find Tudor housing dotted around here and there. In fact, if you go to the city of York, for example, there's quite a lot of sort of Tudor buildings there. They're quite ornate with wood panelling, and they're the sort of place that you might imagine that Shakespeare lived. But wood is less indicative of British houses than you would see in America, where wood is actually quite a common material for building houses. In Britain, from about the Georgian period onward, you're going to see quite a lot of brickwork. Georgian period houses absolutely exist. People live in them, but they tend to be these opulent looking houses that have notable pops of white rectangle, which are just the windows. So it's very nice. They look like dolls' houses that you should live in. But then come the Victorian age, we started moving toward these sort of like orangey brick buildings, right? And a lot of them were terraced houses, which is what Americans would call row houses. And they just look very industrial, right? You could imagine a chimney sweep going up and getting his face covered in soot. And then we move into the Edwardian period, where houses are sort of similar to those of the Victorian age. They're just lighter colours with more chimney sweeps, if Mary Poppins is anything to go by. Now, during World War II, when the Nazis bombed the ever-loving crap out of us, a lot of the houses went boom. And then after World War II, there was a housing boom, and you started to see a build-up of new, more simple houses, kind of like the one I grew up in. Now that's a castle. That didn't happen.
Almost got me, man. I was about to say, what? You grew up in a castle, man? Hey.
But I grew up in something more like this. That's not Lawrence's actual house. Despite what fairy tales may suggest, most of us have never lived in a chocolate box house, but those do exist. A chocolate box house is the kind of house you might see in the Cotswolds, right? It's very quaint looking, it's got thatch roofing, and it looks like this. And if, like me, you're wondering why it's called a chocolate box house, yet it doesn't look edible, it goes back to the 1950s/60s, when chocolate boxes would have on their facade a kind of depiction of a beautiful English countryside. And these types of houses would often feature on said box. Now again, this is by no means an entire repository of British houses. Neither is the following an entire repository of American houses. It's just the more common ones that you will see when you are here. So Cape Cod houses, you know these types of houses, right? They're the ones with the wood paneling down the side. And I said a moment ago that, you know, America makes good use of wood in this country because there's just so much of it. So many woodlands around the country, and it's a huge country from which to pull that resource, so they do, and it's cheap. But funnily enough, the Cape Cod style has its history with English settlers who came here in the 17th century and started building Cape Cod style houses in New England. Now, during the post-World War II period, partly to provide, you know, housing to veterans coming back from war, there was a revival of Cape Cod style housing, and it started to be built not just in New England but all along the East Coast and in the Midwest and even out west. Anybody that's seen the Goonies will know that. And it was this style of housing that I first moved into when I moved to the United States. And I've got to say, even despite the Midwest winters, it was really warm. You know, you'd think it would be quite drafty because of all of the gaps in the wood. You could go to specific streets or neighborhoods or areas of the United States and only find these houses for miles and miles. So I lived in one of those, but my grandparents-in-law lived in what is known as a ranch-style house. And these are sort of really low-down buildings, don't typically have 2 floors to them. And once again, these houses became popular after World War II. There was just generally a big sort of boom after World War II.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of these houses everywhere. Like for me here, I live in Florida. Like, you have all type of houses here. You have houses like this. You got houses like the one he showed earlier. You have Spanish style homes. You have, bro, you have all type. To me, you have all type of houses. I've seen all types. There's not one type of house that I don't see, honestly.
States in that regard. The 20th century, though, did see more and more revivalism of old styles. So you had, you know, mock Tudor, or shall I say revival Tudor, which more or less replicated the kind of Tudor buildings that you would see in England with some differences. And I've seen those types of buildings in Boston, for example. I've also seen them in Indiana. As well as that, the 20th century saw colonial revivalism, though most people don't live in those houses. Maybe one day when I get that grand piano, I'll think about it. And so that's an extremely basic and rudimentary breakdown of some of the different styles that you'll see in each country. But there's one big difference between all of the houses in both countries.
Come on.
And it's this.
The size.
Let's face it, it's time to face up to some home truths. Compared to America, Britain is microscopic. The United States is absolutely massive and needs to be stopped. And the same is true of each country's average house size. Right? So in the United States, houses just tend to be way more spacious. And we're not just talking about millionaire houses here. We're talking about your average house. So the average size of an American single-family home is approximately 1,600 square feet. In the UK, we're looking at an average of about 900 square feet. So why the difference?
For real? 900 square feet? Oh, yeah, that's yeah. It's not that big.
Well, one reason is population density. In Britain, we're all a bit packed together. Actually, that partially accounts for why everything is smaller in Britain. Not everything, not the cups. But in America, there's just so much land, and relative to that land, so few people. So, you know, make them as large as you want, and they do. They're huge. But also, a large majority of American houses are relatively new, meaning that they were able to benefit from, you know, building methods and materials that other countries like Britain were not. And the post-war expansion of American highways meant that this was enhanced even more. Those materials could be moved around the country more easily, and of course, this ushered in a more grand housing development. Now, all size aside, try saying that after 10 tepid tequilas, things become subtly different once you're inside the houses of either country.
Okay.
Is gadgets the right word? I don't know, I'll have to fire my graphics team.
Gadget,
Either way, we're essentially talking about accessories, the things you have in your house that make that house work, even when you're doing the house work. So, for example, airflow, right? America's bigger on its overhead fans and air conditioning units. We don't usually use those. I mean,
yeah, I was so shocked when I heard you guys doesn't use like a fan. I don't have one right here in the room, but I do have one outside in the living room. Usually the rooms would have a fan on top, just, you know, spinning. But I don't have one in here. What I do have is just, let me see if I can see. No. Yeah, right there is the AC vent. That's what I have. But yeah, but every house is here have a fan though. Every house is here have AC. Every house is here have a fan. Yeah, and I was really shocked when I heard that you guys it's not that you guys don't have it. It's not common for a house to have it, basically.
punish ourselves, especially in the summer. But we can crack a window open and it doesn't get oppressively hot.
Wow.
Always. And so we've mostly been fine with this situation. It does mean that insects get in. So daddy longlegs will get in the house and mosquitoes, but it's a small price to pay for not having air conditioning. I actually quite like air conditioning now that I've lived in the US. Speaking...
So, okay. So when it's really, really hot though, let's say you don't have air conditioning, right? When it gets really, really hot, what do you guys do? Yeah, what do you guys do? Like I'm just thinking, right? Sometimes it gets so hot there's no wind outside. It's just straight heat. I don't know if that makes sense or not. If it's high, there's wind. That makes sense. You could crack open a window, and the wind come in. You feel a little better, right? But there's no wind. It's just hot. So you just. I'm sure you still open the window. Are there any other measures that you guys take to feel better? Tell me in the comments though, man. I want to know.
You also don't see in Britain those insect screens that you put in the windows, hence why they're getting in. In America, they're virtually in every house, but then again, you know, in Britain, we don't have black widows or brown recluses or the types of mosquitoes that make your face go like this. So I can see why it's justified. I mean, you still get ants, or is that just me? Not sure how they get in, maybe...
Oh yeah, I hate mosquitoes. That's one thing I hate, man. I hate mosquitoes with a passion. They're annoying. I don't see the point of them. They are annoying, man. Oh, no. Do not like mosquitoes at all.
Crack. Maybe through the plug sockets. The plug sockets, of course, are different in both countries, too.
Sorry, I'm going to pause again. I'm going to go back. But I'm going to pause again. Mosquitoes and roaches. Oh, man. These are the two worst animals ever. Or insects, I should say, not animals. Two worst. I don't see what's the point, right? What's the point? When God was creating them things, why? I don't see it. I don't see the point of it.
Or maybe through the plug sockets. The plug sockets, of course, are different in both countries too. In Britain, you have the three-pronged outlets, and in America, you sometimes have three, but occasionally two. And they're smaller in America than they are in Britain. That's one of the few things about which you can say that. Separate taps, of course, for hot and cold water. In America, you sometimes have three, but occasionally...
This one is most common though. This one is most common. I've seen this before, but yeah, most houses. This one is most common. But this is so interesting to me. I'm like, dang, that's crazy. The first time, because I've seen the video they was talking about this how the outlets are. So it's like, dang, that's interesting. The fact that it's so different.
They're smaller in America than they are in Britain. That's one of the few things about which you can say that. Separate taps, of course, for hot and cold water. Americans combine them all into one. Where's the logic in that? I'm joking. And while we're on the subject of sinks, most British sinks don't have that sort of food waste disposal thing that you press the button and it does the noise. Amazing. That was one of the best things I discovered after I didn't discover.
Yeah. The disposal, yeah. Strangely enough, I don't use that. Like, we don't use it here at all. Like, I'm talking not when I say we, I'm not talking about the US Americans. I'm speaking basically on my household. We don't use that. Yeah, any trash that we have, we put in the trash bag. You know, that's it. But we don't really use it. We don't really use it. Dang, that's crazy, right? But hey, it's there though. It's there. Maybe I should start using it more often, ain't it?
The idea, and I just used it. But it's amazing. It's just so pleasing to know that all of that gunk gets broken down. And just don't put your hamster in there. I've learned that lesson from someone else. I didn't do it, just read about it on Reddit.
Okay.
Letterboxes. Firstly, Americans don't call them letterboxes, but mailboxes, and typically don't have them on the door, but outside in the garden, yard. The garden / yard is different. Often smaller in Britain, but very well kept up, depending on the family.
I laugh you say garden because, I mean, when you think about a garden here, a garden is something you have in your backyard, right? Where you grow, if you want to plant some fruits, some vegetables. You feel me? A garden. That's what, yeah, in the backyard, whatever. Typically, you could have it in the front yard also, but typically in the backyard, a garden. But I'm sure you guys, I've heard that you guys call it a garden. It's just the yard outside, the front yard. You guys call it garden, you know? But to me, It's just a front yard, you know, front yard, backyard. You have a little grass, stuff like that. That's what it is. But it's funny because he said garden. It's like you're talking about. If you say garden here, somebody will think you mean something completely different.
Massive yards here with, you know, mesh fences and things like that, or picket fences. Back inside, a lot of properties in the United States will have walk-in closets that are built into the actual walls of the house, whereas in Britain you bring your own closet / wardrobe to put your clothes in.
How that work?
That takes up more.
Wait, how does that work? Like you bring your own closet. How does a British closet? That's what I would say. Yeah. How does a British closet work? I want to know that, because here again, see, it'll be something like this. I could use it as an example. Yeah, literally something like this, but you know, you'll be deeper in, and that'll be your closet. You know, basically, just like this. This is a perfect example, but you just be deeper in. That's interesting, though. I want to see how you guys think it look like, though, honestly.
Just realised. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot every step of the way, except when it comes to washing machine.
But yeah, I mean that makes sense though, because you in the beginning of the video you said the houses are, you know, you have less space, so you gotta make do. Yeah, come on, you gotta make do with what you have. You feel me?
How cool is this? We combine them both into one giant cube, whereas America has two separate cubes. And tea drinkers that we are, we love our kettles, don't we?
Wait.
But they're not just any kettles. These are ones you
hold on.
we
Sorry.
love cube. Washing machines and dryers.
Okay.
How cool is this? We combine them both into one giant cube, whereas America has two separate cubes. And
wait, so you guys have one? Wait. So you have a washer and dryer combined? Huh? How did? Wait. Okay. I now have so many questions. So you have the washer and the dryer is combined together. So, when you wash your clothes, when you put the detergent, whatever you use to wash your clothes, do you have to remove it and put it back in, or you press another button? Okay. I feel like I'm being dumb right now. I feel like I'm saying something stupid. But basically, what I'm asking is this: when you finish washing them, does the machine know automatically to just start drying them? Now you just put it like, you know, just one go. You feel me? I don't know if what I'm saying it makes sense or not, man. I feel stupid now.
We love our kettles, don't we? But they're not just any kettles. These are ones you plug in and then hit the switch to turn on the plug, because I forgot to mention that our plug sockets also have switches. And then, you know, you turn it on. Don't need a stove top, and it heats up just like that. You've got your water. Bob's your uncle. Pour it into a mug. There's your cup of tea. In America, you do have the stovetop kettles, and part of me likes that because it does this really pleasing whistling sound at the end. Now, if you were paying attention during that list, you may have noticed that I touched on some of the terminological differences when it comes to housing in either country. And that brings us on to our final entry. It wouldn't be Britain and America if they weren't two countries separated by a common language, and the same is true of the housing world. So let's finish with a rapid fire round looking at those very words. So here in Chicago, I live in a flat, except in America they don't call it flat, it's called an apartment. Something else that you'll find in America though.
Flat? Okay, I have to remember that. A flat. I never heard that before. That's crazy.
Are these condominiums or condos, if you don't fancy saying a word?
Yeah, I've heard condo, I've heard apartment. Yeah. Condo is usually more fancy. But condos are different though. Condos is like most of the time somebody live in a condo, it's like they bought an apartment unit, for example. They just bought it. Like a 3-bedroom apartment, they bought that 3-bedroom apartment. They be like, yeah, I just bought a condo, I live in a condo. Apartment, I live in an apartment. Most likely they'll be talking about they renting an apartment unit, basically. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Hopefully it did.
And we do have those in Britain. They're usually called common hold properties. And I suppose most British people wouldn't go around using that term, whereas you actually hear the term condo quite a lot. It's been suggested to me that I move into a condo, and it sounds good. I mean, when I first heard the term, I thought it sounded like I might be moving onto a lakeside boat or something like that. It is like an apartment, but it's one you would buy. It's real estate. Now, as a child and young adult, I grew up in a house that was known as a semi-detached house. That's when you have a house adjoined to one other house on one side, but not on the other side. In the United States, this is known quite simply as a duplex, which is not the rest of them. If it is adjoined on both sides with another house, then you are part of a line of houses that are known as terraced houses in Britain. In America, they're known as row houses because they're all in a row, presumably. Then there's council housing in Britain versus the projects in the United States, and that's just another way of saying public housing. To control the electricity flow in Britain, you have the mains power. In America, you have the grid power. And what if you're sick and tired of the place that you're living in and you just want to relocate somewhere else? In America, you would just simply move. In Britain, you'd move house. And on that note, I'm going to move out to my outro transition because this is the end of the video. Let me know in the comments below if you're watching this from your house right now, or just if you're not. Leave a comment either way. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that my videos don't get lost in the pond. A big reminder, by the way, if you want to keep up with me on a day-to-day basis and just see some of the stupid trivia that I come out with, follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS. You won't regret it entirely. This video, just like all of my videos, was made possible by my patrons at patreon.com/lostinthepond. If you would like to help this channel grow by broadening its research, its lighting equipment, all of its technology and everything, then go to patreon.com/lostinthepond. It takes 5 minutes to sign up and to support the costs of running this channel. Until next time, I'm going to go and get the kettle on and listen out for that whistle. Bye.
Man, this was a great video. There is a lot of differences when it comes to the houses. Yeah, I mean, the size is obviously something that I knew already, but yeah, I mean, what was the differences? What's the differences? Yeah, you got the size, you got the outlets. I mean, a lot of you guys, I guess, based on what he said, doesn't have the AC installed. It doesn't have the AC. Yeah, you got the size, you got the AC, the fan over on the top. You guys don't have that. Yeah, there's a lot of differences, and mainly, I mean, the other difference is really the word choice that we use, the language, you know. So, man, this was a good video. It was very informative, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching with me. I appreciate it. Continue to like, continue to comment, continue to subscribe. We're on our way to 10,000 subscribers, so please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.